Oh, and I know I have been having some trouble with my sound, so if there's anything in this video, if the sound is poor quality, again, make sure you let me know. I've been trying to fix it, but to let me know if there's any problems with the sound. So, back again to do my review of Transformers Last Stand of the Wreckers, Issue 2. Very excited about. And I don't really have much more to say before it, so let's get started. It starts off, and it is a long time ago. Once again, it's very jumping back and forth between all these different time periods. And we see Overlord fighting a lot of Autobots, one of which, pretty sure, is Cup. And he's basically just, killing off all these Autobots, saying, I'm so awesome, I just keep laying you guys to waste, it's great. But Overlord quickly leaves that group of Autobots, saying that he's very bored, and he goes to speak with Megatron, who is also with Six-Shot and Black Shadow. And Megatron says that that was Overlord's last campaign, and he has new ideas for him, and he has plans for things for Overlord to do, and Overlord is basically just like, no, I don't feel like it. So Megatron gives him two options. He says, option 1, you do as I say, or option 2, you don't. And with option 2, I hunt you down and tear you limb from limb. So those are Overlord's options, I guess. And I think it's kind of funny that that section just kind of ends on Overlord's pouty face. He's thinking about what he's going to do. So that ends, and then we go back to Ultra Magnus' ship, and we see all the rookies are just kind of hanging out, talking about catchphrases and battle cries, and Iron Fist is giving up some more history on the Wreckers and where he got it from. And during this conversation, we find out a little bit more about, at least what the rookies know about the whole Impactor situation. Guzzle's like, well, why did he just quit? And Iron Fist is like, well, no, you can't think about it like that. He was the leader of the Wreckers, so I don't know. That's, I don't know what this is about. And then we go over into the next room where we see Impactor is actually being looked over by Perceptor. And Springer and him are having a pretty heated conversation. And actually, while Perceptor is looking Impactor over, they find a deterrence chip in his head, which was supposed to explode if he ever left the prison, but he says that Fort Max knew the detonation signal. And then Springer asks, well, how did you get out of there anyway? And we go to a little flashback with Impactor, and we see him meeting Snare, who we actually saw in the first issue, who actually lets him go. But it's not just that he's just letting him go because he feels bad for him or anything. He actually asks Impactor to bring back help. Thing is, Snare is just as afraid of Overlord as all the Autobots are. It seems that everybody is just as afraid of Overlord as the Autobots are. So he asks Impactor to please bring back help because he knows that he can do it. And then we re-flash back to present day, and Impactor is still talking about what Overlord has been doing. And I think it's interesting because at one point he says that G9 has been turned into a cross between a death camp and an amusement park. And I think it's funny because at the mention of Overlord, even Ultra Magnus is like, dude, this is heavy. And as Impactor is leaving the room after this conversation goes down, he mentions, back at G9, I thought to myself, Springer would have done the same. And then he says, I don't think that anymore. So he seems like he's pretty much lost his faith, at least part of his faith in Springer. So, of course, Springer makes a plan, and they're going to go to G9 and rescue the prisoners and take care of Overlord, whatever has to happen. And as he's talking about his plan, he's like, Ultra Magnus, aren't you coming with us? And Ultra Magnus mentions that, no, he's actually going back to Earth, and he is taking Verity with him. Little does he know Verity is listening, and she's like, I don't think so. And Ultra Magnus also mentions that he was given a name that he thinks would interest Springer a lot, and that name is Aquatus. I'm pretty sure that's how you pronounce that. I don't know. If it's not, let me know. And then we jump to all the Wreckers, rookies, and older, more famous guys, all getting together to learn about this plan to go to Garrus 9. And once again, the name Overlord is brought up, and everyone's just like, oh man, this is really bad. And of course, Verity doesn't know who this guy is. She doesn't know why everyone's getting all upset. And so, of course, she asks Cup, and Cup goes into this very interesting explanation of who Overlord is and how basically he was the be-all, end-all of final solutions for Decepticons, and Megatron just sent him out there when he had no one else to send. But Megatron started getting a little suspicious and tightened his leash on him, and then Overlord just left Megatron anyway. And in his flashback/story, Cup mentions when he actually had an experience with Overlord, and Overlord, after beating the crap out of Cup, tells him to tell Megatron that he has chosen option 2. And then we see Verity making a really strange face. I don't know what that means. I don't know what she thinks. I can't tell if she's horrified by the story, if she thinks that it's awesome, if she wants some food. I don't know what that means. But anyway, after Cup's story and Verity's strange face, Springer mentions that there is actually another objective to their mission, which is to find Aquatus. And he says, some of you are going to recognize his name and most of you aren't. And then he goes into talking about the shielding, and they make a plan that's basically to just get 2 pods in there and go in shooting. And Pyro's like, that's it? That's all we're going to do? And Springer's like, yeah, pretty much. We're wreckers. That's what we do. And we find out that not only is Rotostorm driving one of the pods, he's actually also remote controlling the other one, so he will be driving both of them. And Springer's like, that's the plan. What could go right? And then we get a very interesting countdown type of page to the events. And it says, you know, T-minus 1 hour, we have Iron Fist giving these interesting, like, cerebral weapons to Pyro and to Guzzle, and then we see T-minus 50 minutes, and it's just Impactor looking sad. T-minus 40 minutes, we get an interesting conversation between Topspin and Twin Twist, talking about some kind of thing that's happening between them that they just need to not worry about. T-minus 30 minutes, and we have Verity writing a message to Ultra Magnus, which basically gives us a clue that she's probably not going with him. T-minus 20 minutes, we have Ultra Magnus and Springer looking at a video or a picture or whatever, talking about when Iron Fist actually passed out in the first issue. And then we have T-minus 10 minutes, which is Rotorstorm saying, yeah, I can fly these 2 ships at once. And then saying, man, I am such a wannabe. And then we cut to the 2 groups and the 2 separate pods, and they're ready to go. But of course, we also discover that Verity has stolen away into the ship, and then they go into the shield, and there's a huge fight, and there is a moment where Perceptor is being held by the legs by Topspin and shooting Decepticons out of the ship, which is pretty cool. Both of the ships get shot down, go down, and Verity says, well, now what? But then they turn around, and who else is it but Overlord, saying, now things go from bad to much, much worse. And that is the end of the issue. Once again, I absolutely love this. It's so awesome. The thing with this issue is it's a lot of setup, which is fine because it's issue 2 and we're expecting to get more from the next ones. Once again, the artwork is awesome. Still have some problems with Verity's face, especially that one after Cup story. What is that face? But that's okay because the rest of the artwork is fantastic. I absolutely love how much emotion you can get out of these guys' faces. And also, when they're beat up, the way that they're drawn is so cool because it's like you see them like they're robots, obviously, but you also see them like they're actually getting hurt. Usually in Transformers comics, you know, you feel bad when someone gets hurt, but you're also kind of just like, they're robots, they'll be fine. When you see some of the carnage in this, and this is only the 2nd issue, I can't imagine what the next ones will be like. You really feel for these guys, especially when you see Cup after he's gotten beaten up by Overlord, just like, man, poor Cup. Duh. And it almost goes without saying, but once again, of course, the colors are fantastic. I'll have to say, some of my favorite color choices are in Cup's, when he's telling the story about Overlord, and you see the reds, really intense red with the Overlord, and then you also see the really interesting, the yellow. I have to say, I'm usually not a fan of how yellow looks, especially if it was just a wash background, but the way that it looks in this is really cool. I have to say, I like it a lot. And once again, dialogue writing is great. I really like that moment with the rookies all sitting at the table talking about, you know, just their battle cries, like what they would say, and wreck and rule, that's classic. And it's a really nice moment because you get to spend time with the characters that isn't, you know, running around screaming, killing people, fighting. It's just a moment. So yeah, that's issue 2. See you next time. Bye.